Hello everyone, Warhammer back, and we are going to be starting a brand new modded campaign, this time for the High Elves. As always, the list for the mod collection will be in the description of the video. I have set the mods out in the order that you should have them in order to not have any problems, so please try to follow that to minimize your issues. The entire mod collection should work for every single High Elf Legendary Lord. So first, we are going to do a very basic overview of what mods are in the list and what each of them do. Starting off, we have Mixer. Mixer's Unlocker. This enables several of their other mods. And with it, we also have the mod configuration tool. Now, this mod allows you to customize some of the other mods that are a part of this collection. If you've never used it before, it will appear in the top left corner of the menu, and you can adjust a lot of the specifics on mods if they have been enabled by their mod authors. Now, looking at the mods themselves, our first mod is called Ulthuan Lost World. This is a regular on my channel. So this mod significantly adjusts and changes the look of settlements on the campaign map. So special settlements like Ulthuan in this case for the High Elves will look significantly different and cooler. The mod can also add new landmarks for races across the map. Then after that, we have two mods called the Campaign Weather Overhaul and the Battle Weather Overhaul. Now these respectively will adjust the weather on the campaign map and in battles. So on the campaign side, this will adjust the weather depending on where you're looking. So for example, if you're over mountains, you will see snow. If you're near the coast, you'll see rain. It's really cool and adds a lot. On the battle side, it will adjust the weather on maps depending on where you are in the campaign map, but it will also adjust the lighting. So night battles, because of this mod, will look much darker and actually feel more like night. Both of these mods add a lot of nice atmosphere to a campaign. Next, we have the unique faction UI. This just adds a little bit of flavor to the player interface and just makes it a little bit more thematic for the High Elves. So you'll see like more sailing motifs and dragons and eagles and things like that. Next, we have the immersive battle banners. Now, this will change some things both in the campaign map and then in battles. Kind of the look of some of the faction icons and their flags. And then in battle, it will adjust some of the banners to be a little bit more indicative of what their role is. Next, for our major content mods, first we have the 10 Kingdoms. So if you don't know, the Nation of the High Elves is actually made up of 10 different kingdoms on Ulthuan. And this mod adds several new units to the High Elf roster. And each kingdom will get a few of these. Some of them will be normally recruitable units, and other ones will be regiments of renown, which actually appear in the regiment of renown, tied to your faction leader's level. So all of the units from the 10 Kingdoms mod are recruited from their kingdom's capital once you have built its corresponding landmark. So these can be anywhere from cavalry to infantry to chariots and things like that. The next content mod is called the Phoenix Court, which I'm really excited to talk about. Now, this is an adaptation of the Chaos Dwarf Tower of Zar. For the Phoenix Court, it basically acts as a politics mechanic for the High Elves. It is really great. It's very cool because it is very interactive. It'll allow you to claim seats, but then the other factions will also try to claim seats and sometimes steal them back from you. Like the Tower of Zar at the end, it will actually allow you to confederate the other High Elf factions. It really adds a nice lot of both fun and flavor to a High Elf campaign. Each faction will have kind of their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, Tyrion's faction likes to go after the Council of Nobles. They're cheaper for him to claim. And other ones, like for example, Teclis has more for the White Tower. Lariel has ones for the Court of the Everqueen. It's really fun and adds a lot of depth to the interactions between the kingdoms. I really like it. Now, the Phoenix Court also adjusts the invocation of Assyrian, and whenever you trigger that right, it will also trigger a political event between you and one of the other kingdoms. Next, we have Convoys of the New World. This mod adds a lot to the High Elves in that, similar to like Cathay or the Chaos Dwarves, the High Elves can actually send out convoys, and this time they're naval convoys, so they go through the Great Ocean and things like that all around the world, and overall just adds another aspect to the campaign that I think is really enjoyable. Next, we have another mod that goes along the same lines called Kataf's High Elf Sea Patrol. It actually adds Aislan, who is a new legendary lord leading the nation of Kothik. In the lore, he is the Sea Lord, so he leads the High Elf Navy, and he brings with him a new generic lord called the Sea Helm. But they basically function as a horde while at sea and have their own ships and can build up their ships similar to the Vampire Coast. They bring with them lots of new units, which are recruited only from their shipbuilding, all of them naval themed. So overall, this mod adds a nice little aspect of the High Elves playing more on their power at sea and Next, we have Sons of Assyrian Dragon Mages. So this actually adds a hero choice for the High Elves called Dragon Mages, who are a part of their roster on the tabletop. They are casters of the Lore of Fire and have access to a Sun Dragon mount, but they function more as a hybrid hero who is much more capable in melee than a normal mage would be. They are much more offensive, they get access to dragon armor, and if you start as Imric, his starting fire mage will actually be replaced with a dragon mage. Next, we have a unit pack that adds Merworms, Sireworms, and Lothran Skycutters for the High Elves. Merworms, which are basically like dragons, but they live in the sea actually. They don't fly, but they are very powerful monsters that cause terror, and they actually have regeneration, and they're quite fast. With them, we have the Lothran Skycutters. These are a unit that was available on the tabletop. They are actually a flying chariot, who are equipped with archers and a Eagle Claw boat thrower. Next, we have Loreful Mounts. This will add some new mount options, primarily in this campaign for the Noble, who will get a Griffin mount, just like he had on the tabletop. And we'll also add some other mounts, for example, the Prince and Princesses, who will get access to chariot mounts like they had on the tabletop. Next, we have a really cool mod called Expanded Hero Skill Trees. This adds so much utility and flavor to all the High Elf heroes. It gives them a skill tree more akin to the newer ones with the updated factions. So once they hit a certain rank, to dedicate themselves to kind of different paths, where the mages can be more of a duelist, they can be more of a support hero. For the nobles, you can dedicate them to one of the elven gods. Overall, it just adds lots of flavor, and it also will include the Handmaiden and the Lore Master. Next, we have a tech rework for the High Elves. This mod does not add new technologies, but it instead reworks a lot of the ones that already exist and adds new benefits for them. Many units will gain new abilities or bonuses, like the Spearmen, for example, will get access to a Spear Wall passive ability, or the Illyrian Reavers will get access to Devastating Flanker. It really makes a lot of the technologies much more worthwhile, especially in the later areas of the High Elf tech trees, and really makes you want to use a lot of the different units, which will combine very well with our 10 Kingdoms mod, which adds unique units for each kingdom. Next, we have the building progression icons. This just adjusts the visuals for the building tree, which lets you actually see the progression from each tier for buildings. Then we have Singe's skills for the High Elves. This adds some skills for each of the High Elf Legendary Lords, giving them a little bit more utility for the units that they are associated with. For example, Tyrion will benefit more the Silver Helms, Phoenix Guard, and White Lions and things like that. Teclis will deal with the Sword Masters, Ilaria with Handmaidens and her Dryads and things like that, Emmerich with Dragon Princes. They are available through Confederation, so you don't have to worry about that. They will all get those skills independent of which campaign you start as. Next, we have a mod called More Thematic Wall Breakers. This just gives the Wall Breaker trait to more monsters throughout the game. For the High Elves specifically, it gives the Wall Breaker trait to dragons. Next, we have two mods that adjust experience and veterancy. These two mods you will already be familiar with if you've seen one of my campaigns before. They adjust the gaps between experience levels, making them much larger, but in return, higher levels of experience reward a lot more leadership. So it really affects the dynamic of the battles when you are facing a low experience army and a high experience army, where even with lower tier units, they will perform much better in battle due to that higher leadership. And the other experience mod actually affects garrisons. So garrisons will naturally gain experience every 10 turns and let them level up, so they become a little bit more dangerous if the garrison has been there for a long time. The very last mod is going to be for our campaign in this series, playing as Tyrion. It is just a visual update to his dragon armor to make it look a little bit more like the visuals that have been presented in artwork. With that, we are going to now take a look at a lot of the units coming in with these mods, and we'll do a quick overview of them. First, we have Tyrion, who along with his updated skill tree in the campaign is just getting a visual overhaul to his dragon armor to make it a little bit more like his artwork. Then for our new legendary lord, Aislan, he is a commander of the Sea Patrol and the Sea Lord, so he commands all of the High Elf Navy. He buffs Lothran Seaguard and several of the naval units that have been added alongside him. He is able to be mounted on a Lothran Skycutter or on a Dragon Mount. For our Sea Helms, they start on foot. They are kind of a hybrid hero who is both ranged and anti-large, similar to Lothran Seaguard. For mount options, they have a Swift Feather Rock or a or a Lothian Skycutter. For the Dragon Mage, taking a look at them, they are a hybrid hero, so they actually have pretty good melee stats. But as they level up, they can get the Dragon Armor, which gives them significantly better armor and resistances, like physical resist and flame resist and stuff. They can be mounted on a Sun Dragon once they get high enough. They have some unique abilities in place of, for example, Arcane Conduit. Then we have our Noble, who is on a Griffin. I'm really excited to see this, because that was my favorite mount that I wish that they had in the base game. But for Kalador, we have the Kaladorian Sentinel. These are basically Dragon Princes on foot. They're very durable infantry. For Eataine, we have the Lothian Sea Rangers. These guys are basically similar to the Shadow Warriors, so they are more of a skirmish unit with anti-infantry and a little bit shorter range. We have the Creation Hunters from Krace. These guys are actually a missile unit, so they have anti-large missiles and are anti-large in melee as well. They're excellent at hunting beasts. We have the Shadow Warriors from Nagaroth. These guys actually have a different missile option. They have barbed arrows. So it does less armor piercing, but it is very good at wrecking units' leadership and speed. So they are very good in that utility. Next we have the Mistwalkers. These guys are basically a basic version of the unique units that Eltharion the Grim normally has. They have magic attacks, they're anti-large in melee, no shields, so they're most comparable to the Spire Guard that he normally gets access to, but these are ones that everyone else can get access to through his landmark. And for Illyrian, we have the Illyrian Lancers. These are slightly more heavily armored Illyrian Reavers. They have better leadership, and they have access to Eagle Formation, actually. So they are very good on the charge, very good stats, very high charge bonus. For Nagaroth, we also have the Knights of Anlek. So these are basically Shadow Warriors nobles who are mounted. They have martial mastery, very good stats, lots of armor piercing. For Kothik, we have the Kothikan Knights. They are a combination of ranged and melee cavalry. They also have Frenzy, because Kothikan Knights are typically considered almost pirates. So they're very dangerous in battle. Pretty good stats, decent armor, but they're a nice utility unit. For Avalorn, we have the Maidens of Isha. These ladies are similar to, for example, the Sisters of the Thorn for the Wood Elves. They have magical attacks, they have blinded on contact effect, and they have access to 2 bound spells, Shield of Thorns and Earthblood. For Saphira, we have the Saphirian Pegasus Riders. These are basically sword masters that are mounted on Pegasus. Pegasi, whatever you want to call it. They have some bound spells as well. They are anti-infantry and they have shields and are armor piercing, so pretty good. Next, we have the Anuli Eagle Riders. So these guys are only available when you have control of the fortress gates. So they are great eagles that are anti-large. Then looking at the naval units accompanying the Sea Patrol mod, we have the Ships Company. These are the basic units. They are a sword and bow hybrid. They have pretty decent stats despite having low armor. So they're going to be a very good starting unit on your naval ships. Next we have the Lothian Sea Rangers. So there's actually 2 variants of them, one that came with the 10 Kingdoms, and these are the ones that are part of the Sea Patrol. So like the variant that comes with the 10 Kingdoms mod, these guys are kind of similar to Shadow Warriors. They have their own kind of utility. These guys are bonus infantry, and they also have a contact effect that reduces enemy bonuses in melee. We have the Silverhelm Marines. These are the higher tier version of the Sea Company, so they are basically Silverhelms that are serving on the naval ships of the High Elves. They have much heavier armor, they are ranged as well, and they have very good stats. Then we have these Swift Feather Riders. These guys are from Eataine. They ride these birds that normally are on the cliffs. They are a hybrid unit, so archers, but pretty okay stats if you need to put them into melee. Taking a look at the Lothian Skycutters, these are flying chariots with bolt throwers and archers on the back. They are also pretty good on the charge if you need to send them into melee, although they can get cut down pretty quickly due to their large models if you're not careful, so do be careful with them. And then the last unit for the naval units is taking a look at the last naval unit included with the Sea Patrol, we have the Merworms. They are a very fast land monster who have poison, and they also have the ability to heal in melee. Alongside the Merworm comes a slightly higher tier version called the Sireworm. Now, the Sireworm trades the Merworm's poison attacks and bonus versus infantry for more weapon strength and a bonus versus large, but it loses a little bit of armor. But in return, it gains a really cool ability called the Abyssal Cloak, which actually reduces nearby. So it's a really, really great monster unit and great at breaking lines with its terror and the minus leadership aura. That is it for all of the basic units that come as a part of all these mods. And then several of them will have their own Regiment of Renown, or just a Regiment of Renown that's unique to their kingdom. So we have the Ulthuan. These are the elite units that guard the Vortex. They have perfect vigor, they have magic attacks, heavy armor, lots of armor piercing. They function very similar to the Chaos Aspiring Champions. Low model count, very good stats, hard to kill. We have the Keepers of the Stone. These are the Regiment of Renown for Yvresse. They are Silver and Guard, they're unbreakable, have high armor piercing, and they actually have a Phalanx formation, which basically just makes them very, very hard to kill. It also greatly improves their melee attack, allowing them to attack with multiple ranks. We have the Wardens of the White Tower. These are the Regiment of Renowned Swordmasters for Safari. They have flaming attacks, magic attacks. They're very, very strong. They have some bound spells. We have the Lines of Kurnos, so the Creation Hunters, so they forego their bow attack. They become much, much stronger in melee. They still retain their anti-large, but they also have some bound abilities, like the Hail of Ulthuan, which is like the Arrows of Kurnos. There's actually a second Regiment of Renown for Calidor called the Dragon Gate Guard. These guys guard the Fortress Gate and are Dragon Princes who are a hybrid unit, both with a missile attack and then bonus as infantry and melee. Their missile attacks have magic and fire attacks, along with a fair amount of armor piercing. They're very, very cool. For Avalorn, we have the Maiden Guard. These are basically a unit of handmaidens, so they have the anti-large that the handmaidens normally have. And then they have fire and magic attacks, along with pretty good range attacks with their Bows of Avalorn. For 18, we have the Sentinels of the Glittering Tower, a Regiment of Renown Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. The Glittering Tower is basically a lighthouse that guards the Emerald Gates of Lothern. They're very, very good artillery unit, magic and flaming attacks, and something that's really awesome about them is that they reload much, much faster than typical Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers. So they're very good at dealing damage. Then for the Lothern Skycutter, we have the Sons of Caligan. They have a small heal ability that they can use on other units. For the Merworm, we have Aminar, who's really, really cool. So if you guys didn't know, Creative Assembly actually did this model for the Vampire Coast DLC, but they never actually made a wireframe to make it a playable unit. So he is a level 40 Regiment of Renown, so he takes a while to unlock, but as you can see, he's pretty insane, really big hitbox, but he has massive armor, huge damage, and also gets the ability to heal in melee. We have a second unit for Avalorn called the Watcher of the Veil. This is a Regiment of Renown Treeman. He has some bound spells, Dwellers Below and Entangled, to trap some guys down. Very, very cool. Tirnock, we have the Avengers of Tirnock. They have anti-large missiles and martial mastery, so very, very tough in melee. They do sundering armor. I'm very excited to use some chariots and actually have them be awesome. We have the Shadow Knights of Anlek, so similar to the regular guys, these are nobles. They have martial mastery, but they also can become unspottable and get speed along with their arrowhead formation, so these guys can be very, very quick at getting around and getting flank charges, things like that. Then we have the Harbingers of Kurnos. These are the Illyrian Lancers. They have martial mastery, perfect vigor. They are very, very good on the charge, 80 charge bonus along with good stats and better armor. They're very fast, very, very dangerous. So that is a quick overview of all the units in the mod. I'm very excited to show them off, and we're going to have a great time with this campaign. Let's jump in.
sons and daughters of Ulthuan, be ready to fight!
Alright guys, starting our modded campaign for the High Elves playing as Tyrion. We're gonna quickly cover some of the mechanics and how they actually work now that we're in the game. So first, in the bottom right, you will see the Phoenix Court. This is a play on the Tower of Zar. So all the High Elf factions, all the major ones at least, will be able to play in the Phoenix Court. They can claim these spots. For Tyrion, since he gets bonuses for the Council of Nobles, ours will be a little bit cheaper to claim in this category. But once all the slots are filled in one tier, in one section, there will be some bonuses for everyone else. And at the very top, we will get Confederation options for all of the 10 kingdoms. Looking at our naval convoys, they actually unlock at turn 5. But they function similar to Cathay or Chaos Dwarf caravans. So you just pick a target across the world, they sell, and you'll fight some enemies along the way, pick up some nice units. But then looking at the 10 Kingdoms mod, so for all of the major kingdoms and their landmarks, you can unlock some unique units once you have built them. So for example, here at the second tier of the Harbor of Lothern, once we get that built, we can start recruiting Lothern Sea Rangers, which are the unique unit for Lothern. The White Tower, you can get the Cyprian Pegasus Riders once you've built that landmark. To Illyr, you can get the Illyrian Lancers, which actually Illyrian Lancers are unique because they're one of the few units you can actually recruit normally, which they're actually really good, so we will recruit some of them for this campaign. Our tech tree has been modified, so no new technologies, but each of the technologies actually gives a lot more bonuses now. So, for example, Spearmen, well, not just Spearmen, but all of our Spear units actually get access to Spear Wall once they've researched this. Makes them really hard to get on the charge and gives them slightly more armor piercing if they've not been moving for a while. And then at the higher tiers, you can start to get some bonuses for actually magic. So, for example, this one reduces the cost for lower magic spells and cooldown. You'll see a few more bonuses. Overall, I think it's done really, really well. And all of these actually apply to all of our unique units as well. So I'm very excited to see that. They pair very well together. And then looking at our next really important thing, our new generic lord and Kataf Sea Patrol. So we actually have our Sea Helm, who has access to shipbuilding. So when he's at sea, he can actually start building up his dragon ship, and it can recruit some really cool units. Lots of them, well, pretty much all of them naval themed, and most of them are unique to the dragon ships and cannot be recruited normally in your normal settlements. So for Tyrion right here, we also have his mage from the Lore of Heavens. All of the heroes will get access to some unique skills as they level up, and they can kind of dedicate themselves to be different kind of variants. So for example, the mage can get like more of a hybrid support role. You can get the battle scholar, which basically just makes them very good at casting magic. They can get more spell mastery, or you can do Arcane Duelist, which is great at countering enemy spells. So for example, this can increase their cooldowns and increase the chance to miscast. But really, really cool. I'm excited to show them off. We also have the Merworms and Lothern Skycutters, which are going to be a part of our ports and some of the actual naval ships as well. And the High Elves, at least the Legendary Lords, which wrong one. The Legendary Lords will get some unique skills due to Sinja's skill for the High Elves. So they will get some more bonuses for some of the more themed units. So for Tyrion, he's going to benefit like Silver Helms and White Lions and Phoenix Guard and things like that. But that seems like a really good overview. So let's just jump right into our first battle.
To victory.
2 Dark Riders, Stark Shards, not too much, we shouldn't have a problem. We have our first battle. This Tyrion against the Dark Elves. He's leading 3 units of spearmen, 2 Ulthuan Seaguard with shields, a Flamespire Phoenix, some Silverhelms, and a mage, who I forgot in the back. But Silverhelm's going to start coming around, try to get a charge, but it looks like our Flamespire Phoenix is going to go after the Dark Charge, try to shut them down. But the Dark Riders try to challenge our Silverhelms, which is a mistake. They will absolutely get wrecked by us. We have higher charge bonus, more armor, better stats, and we even just threw down a harmonic convergence just to make sure they don't take too much damage. And they just decimate these guys. But we've shut down the range firepower for now, although this Dreadlord does have range attack, so he can do some damage to our Phoenix if he actually manages to hit him. But our Spearmen are getting into position. Tyrion trying to pin down these other Dark Riders, and we're focusing them down with Ulthuan Seaguard, but our Spearmen are moving up. And our mage coming in to help. But yeah, those Silverhelms just decimated the Dark Riders. We have our night battle in the woods, Spearmen and Dread Spears. It's going to be a pretty even matchup, although we do have significantly more melee defense. 50 compared to their 42, but they have slightly higher melee attack. Not going to be a big issue for us. We just got to take out the character for this Dreadlord, which Tyrion and the Flamespire Phoenix are going to team up on him for a little bit, but the Flamespire Phoenix is also going to come around for some bombardments, but they can fire. Do some really nice area damage to these guys. That's going to pretty much decimate this army right away. Silverhelms right to the Dark Shards in the back. Just these 1 unit of Dread Spears managing to survive, but we've broken the leadership of all of the units, and Tyrion has put a hurt on the Dreadlord. Should give us the win in just a second. Alright, really solid win for us there. Let's do Execute the Druki, because this actually gives us Grandeur per turn for 2 turns.
They must die.
We want to build this up as much as possible to start taking seats in the Phoenix Court. Speaking of, we should look at that real fast, see which one we actually want to do. Okay, random weapon or armor every 4 turns. Diplomatic relations with men and the minor high elf factions. Recruit rank for chariots and bolt throwers, plus smiths will produce elven trinkets. Influence per turn, very, very nice. And elven residences now produce wine, and wine resource buildings now produce more. Let's do that one. The extra influence per turn is going to be very good. Because influence didn't get a whole lot of changes in this mod collection, but it still is useful for getting characters and manipulating diplomatic relations. For Tyrion, let's go Inspiring Presence. And let's go after the Tower of Lysine, however you want to pronounce it. We're going to fight this one again just so we reduce our casualties. Another quick battle against the Dark Elves. No new units for us, but on the side of the Dark Elves, they don't have a Dreadlord, but they have some Bleak Swords now, who are actually a little bit better in melee. Don't have as high melee defense, but they have pretty good melee attack, 36. But probably won't be enough still to get through our Spearmen, who have 50 melee defense because of martial prowess. So they're really, really great. Flamespire Phoenix going to tie down these Dark Shards just so they can't get any shots off while our Silverhelms come in for a big charge. Just going to rack them. Yes, yes, yes. Over in the front line, Tyrion has gotten to some Bleak Swords. Our Spearmen have kind of positioned themselves. But they are going to go for the charge against the Dread Spears. We don't have quite as high of a charge bonus, but that's not going to matter a whole lot. Flamespire Phoenix now coming in to help out on this side. Drop some... what is it called again? Wake of Fire. I was going to say Burning Fire, but that's not right. So it does do a little bit of bombardment. Pretty high damage, actually, and great at wrecking the leadership of these guys. It also does cause terror. All Ulthuan Seaguard are kind of focusing down the units on the flank, because we have wrecked most of the Dread Spears. We did get them into combat with our Spearmen, which positioned them in a direction where they couldn't actually get their bracing and charge defense against our Silverhelms, so they just get annihilated. Pretty quick, easy battle.
We have captured it. Servant of the king.
So
Shield
for
allowed.
recruitment, I'm going to take 2 more archers.
What
But
do you require?
our Halion can actually start recruiting some units from his, basically his ship stuff. So we're going to get some Ulthuan Sea Guard. Which, interesting fact, so his name's Arhalion. So that's actually a character from the Tyrion and Teclis
Ready.
trilogy, who was a prince of Yves,
You
who was
have my
actually a
attention.
very, very good knight. One of the few people that
Servant
actually
of the
best Tyrion in combat in the joust. For our mage, we want to get some damaging spells. One blast will be good to deal with Dark Elves in the early game because it doesn't need a lot of armor piercing. But for the settlement itself, Lothern, let's get this. We can start getting our noble. And I really do want to try Illyrian Lancer, so we're going to get that right off the bat. I don't need this, at least not in Lothern, so we'll get rid of the militia
Awaiting orders.
camp. And for our technology, let's start going after Spear Wall. Diplomacy, let's see what trade agreements we can get started.
I bid you welcome.
I have heard tales of your kind. Please.
Illyrian does have some early landmarks, so I want to make sure I can deal with them. Safari usually actually goes to war with Averlorn, but it has some nice territory that we may want to take immediately. So I'm not going to make any pacts with them.
What news?
And should be good for this turn. Got a rogue army out here. So as far as the Sea Lords, or the Sea Lords and the Sea Helms, they can only recruit from their shipbuilding when they're at sea or when they're inside a settlement. Although I don't know if it has to be a port city. We'll figure that out through this campaign. Gentleman Jakins, because rogue armies can be kind of a pain. So I'm kind of trying to decide whether we risk having this guy out in sea to recruit. What we may do,
By the comet.
let's do it this
Noble
way.
born. Setting the pace.
Yeah, we'll have you come to sea. We'll see if we can tempt the Dark Elves to come out to sea. But, so, yeah, to go into patrol stance, you have to have at least 25 campaign movement range points left in order to start building up your dragon ship and build up your fleet stuff. Tyrion is going to come over here and recruit some more units, probably more archers. 3 spearmen is plenty for the start, especially since we have 2 Lothern Sea Guard. For this, let's start going for the entertainment stuff because we do need control, and the faster you can get public order under control for the High Elves, the more money you usually make. So
Ulthuan's defender.
let's see if anyone else is willing to trade this turn. Safari? Nope.
Tyrant.
Okay.
Tyrion, heir of an area.
Yeah, I'm curious as to whether the Dark Elves actually try to come out. Usually not, in my opinion. These Dark Elves that are sharding enemy are usually pretty defensive. So as long as we kept pressing the attack with Tyrion, I don't think that they will be too much of a big deal. Yeah, they decide to sit there and just recruit some more. We'll get 2 more Lothern Sea Guard with our Halion. Cool. Tier 2 of the Phoenix Court has been unlocked. So that's something that is a little bit different with the Tower of Zar, is that because there's more factions in the Phoenix Court, you'll see things be unlocked a little bit faster, but you'll also see factions steal seats from each other more often. But the gaps between tiers actually go up significantly for the amount of grandeur you need.
Protector of the
Okay, but for Tyrion, let's go make the attack on Angirio, and this guy should be able to come and reinforce.
I lust for battle. The
You
sea calls.
do you have enough movement range to get on land? You do. You don't have enough movement range to actually trade your units over though, so this is actually the first battle that actually might be a little bit more difficult. They've got harpies to get into our back line, fair amount of cavalry stuff, so yeah, it should be a little bit more difficult. We have our first actually dangerous battle against the Dark Elves. We are heavily outnumbered, although we do have some reinforcements coming in from our Sea Helm with a few units of Ulthuan Sea Guard, but they have a lot of infantry, several ranged units, 2 harpies to get to our back line, along with 2 Dark Riders with repeater crossbows, which can be pretty dangerous since Dark Elf ranged units do have a fair amount of armor piercing. But our Silver Helms kind of go off to the side. We are trying to keep these Dark Riders from firing. Silver Helms aren't quite fast enough to catch the Dark Riders, just barely not fast enough, but we have set up a defensive line, 3 Spearmen in front, Ulthuan Sea Guard on the flanks to protect against charges from enemy Dark Riders to try to come around, along with 4 units of archers in the middle. 2 Harpies trying to get onto our back lines. So we do try to tie them up with our Flamespire Phoenix and turn some of our archers over to try to kill them real fast. But the other unit of Harpies did manage to get onto the flank and hit these Ulthuan Sea Guard. Their bonus plus large is not going to help against the Harpies since they are small entities, but the Dark Shards and the Repeater Crossbows have managed to get some shots off into our Spearmen now. Even with their shields, they're still going to take some damage from that because their armor is not very high. But they do have silver shields, so not terrible. Tyrion holding off a unit of Bleak Swords all by himself, and our Silver Helms kind of gave up on the Repeater Crossbows since these Dread Spears were trying to come in and flank them, so we're going to send them after some Dark Shards instead. The unit of Harpies that we did shoot off at the beginning does manage to come back and get on some of my archers, which is not ideal, so we do turn phase with one of these archers to try to help them out, get some shots off. Flamespire Phoenix also going to come out and help. The other Harpies have been pretty quickly decimated, although they did manage to do a decent amount of damage to our local Sea Guard. Silver Helm is doing awesome, tying up 2, almost 3 units of Dark Shards, keeping them all occupied for a little bit. Tyrion has pushed through the Bleak Swords and is going to go after this Dreadlord, though. But our Phoenix coming in for the aerial bombardment, our firepower, air superiority coming into play. These Harpies were doing quite a bit of damage to these archers, though, so I did bring it in for a second to rout these guys off. But our reinforcements have got here. It's going to be a while before they can actually get in close enough to start helping. But the Silver Helms were doing pretty well up until now. But now 2 units of Dark Shards have turned their crossbows onto them. They're going to be getting good shots off with Murderous Prowess going down right now, giving them extra damage on those missiles. So losing health very, very quickly, and we have some Dread Spears coming in to help. But Flamespire Phoenix doing awesome. Getting lots and lots of good damage off. We don't have any damaging spells on our mage yet. She's not quite high level enough to get points in there, but Flamespire Phoenix, you really gotta deal with these Harpies, unfortunately, because they just have really high weapon strength that they can actually get through our archers very quickly because they do not have great defensive stats and armor. But the front lines going pretty favorably and are, for us at least. Tyrion actually not doing too well against this Dreadlord, actually. Taking a fair amount of hits despite having much better defensive stats. But that's the luck of the draw sometimes. Our Silver Helms did get routed off from the Dread Spears coming out to help and those combined missile shots from the Dark Shards. So they took quite a few casualties, lost over half their models. But our Sea Helm is about into range. His supporting Sea Guard able to actually start getting some shots off, and we have broken the leadership of the Dark Elf army. We're going to use this time to try to kill off the Dreadlord with our Phoenix and Tyrion. Yeah, that was a little bit more dangerous. Our silver helms unfortunately got caught getting shot to death by a couple of ranged units and some dread spears, but we came out on top.
Occupy this place. Champion of the Ever Queen.
Tyrion has it level 5.
Servant of the King.
Oh, we have our first spot available in one of his unique skills, which benefits Lothing Seaguard units. So it gives them more range. Awesome. The more armor is pretty cool, but range is really awesome. Let's keep going into combined elites. That's something else that I didn't quite explain before. So with the technology tree mod, it actually adjusts some of the redline skills for units. So for example, Silver Helms and Lothrian Seaguard are now Silver Helms and like your Illyrian Reavers are now combined into your basic redline skills that benefits like your militia and your early noble units. Whereas like your chariots and your dragon princes and all of your more elite units, like your Tyrion chariots, dragon princes you'll see in the Vanguard Master Strategist is still kind of the same. Your White Lions, Phoenix Guard, and Sword Masters of Hoeth. Sky Master kind of does what you think it does. Most of your flying units. It also benefits your Merworms, but also some of your unique flying units that you get from the Naval mod and your King Kingdoms mod.
I await your
But for our mage, let's get Wind Blast, because it's a pretty good spell for light armor. And then Euronon's Thunderbolt is a really great spell to deal with enemy artillery or characters if you can lock them down.
I await your command.
I should have put him in March Dance. He would have been able to give the Lothing Seaguard to Tyrion right away then. But we'll move these guys over.
Ready. Well reasoned.
He's still going to stick around because I want him to start getting some more experience. Ooh, because he's basically like a Lothing Seaguard Lord. So, okay armor, but he does have a shield, an anti-large attack, even though it doesn't have a whole lot of armor piercing, and he has a missile attack, which is kind of the same thing. Doesn't have a whole lot of armor piercing, but it's still pretty high damage. Let's do hold the line for him first.
Protector of the Ever
Tyrion, we have a fair amount of missile units. Let's get some Illyrian Lancers, because we definitely want to show them off. And one more Spearman. I don't think we need more than 2 cavalry units.
Tyrion, heir of an area.
But we're going to save our growth to get Loth into tier 3 first. But this is just producing income. I guess it's giving us a little bit of a trade resource too, so we'll keep that as is. Yvres is willing to trade with us now. Let's do that.
Queen of Avalon.
Malevolent Lord.
And once we get access to caravans on turn 5, we will start to see a lot more of the High Elf factions because they can send caravans as well. So for example, we will get knowledge of Kalidor, well, Imric specifically, and some of the northern kingdoms, which we don't have vision of yet. But Dark Elves are just going to recruit more at the Shrine of Asuryan. And oh, that's something I forgot to mention is looking at Ovian's Lost Room. So right off the bat, you guys will have noticed that Lothing is significantly larger. But this has also adjusted the Shrine of Asuryan, which looks awesome because it is a pyramid, actually, of white marble on a volcanic island. So it's really cool to see that. It's one of my favorite places in the lore. You get to see it in great detail in the Tyrion and Teclis trilogy, so kind of bring up that little tidbit right there. But you'll see a lot of the kingdoms get changed, and we'll see a lot more cool things across the map because of that. But Tyrion, let's have you take the Shrine of Asuryan now. Let's bring over our... Oh, I forgot to recruit our noble, who would have been available last turn. That's annoying. Oh, I forgot something else too. So Tyrion, we're actually going to have you retreat because we want to put you in the Least Blessing because this gives extra experience for spellcasters. So let's do that. And let's fight this last battle.
To glory!
Battle! First settlement battle, actually. Tyrion leading his pretty good army now. We did take the Ulthuan Sea Guard from our Sea Helm. So we have a lot of ranged firepower. 4 archers, 4 Ulthuan Sea Guard without shields and 2 with shields. But they have some pretty good choke points on this map. So Tyrion going to be leading the charge with the spearmen following up closely. We have our Silver Helms who kind of got decimated last battle coming around, trying to get around the flank. And we have our first showcase for our Illyrian Lancers. So compared to Illyrian Reavers, these guys have slightly more armor, around the same stats, but they have access to Eagle Formation, which improves their charge characteristics a little bit, but they have a super high charge bonus of 89. They're very devastating if you can get them on the right target. So overall, not going to have the staying power of Silver Helms, but if you can keep them moving back and forth between prime targets, you're going to do very well. But coming around to the far side, Tyrion has got on some of these Dark Riders. We've moved our archers just up close enough so they can start to get some fire onto these guys. Flamespire Phoenix did charge onto some Dark Shards, keep them from firing. But some Dread Spears have come up to reinforce, but those Dark Riders just got annihilated. Spearmen gonna do alright against the Dread Spears, but we are kind of in a poor position where our archers don't have a great arc of fire, so we might get a little bit of friendly fire there. But Silver Helms on this flank coming in for the charge, shut down these Dark Shards, try to get this capture point. Same with our Illyrian Reavers in the back, trying to get that capture point. But Spearmen are into battle. Our Mage of the Lord of Heavens does have access to 2 damaging spells now. She has access to Wind Blast and Ironon's Thunderbolt. But our range firepower is starting to move into the settlement so we can start to get a little bit better positioning and range on some of these guys. These Dark Shards on the side actually managed to get some really good shots off into our Spearmen in their back, so did a fair amount of damage, so we're going to try to shut them down with the Flamespire Phoenix. Over here, we have captured the point, but some Bleak Swords kind of felt like they were going to come out and challenge our Illyrian Lancers, which is a mistake. We'll see them in combat in a little bit. But Silver Helms decimated the Dark Shard. Supreme Sorceress just kind of runs away. A lot of our ranged guys are getting to position, and we will start to see some charges from our Illyrian Lancers. Look at that charge bonus go to work. 89 charge bonus. Bleak Swords do not have charge defense, so they're just going to get wrecked while we maintain that charge bonus. But we have lost the charge bonus now, and we are starting to take some fires from Dark Shards. So very quickly, they do start to lose some models. Like I said, if you can keep them in the right position and keep them out of combat, once their charge bonus goes off, they are going to be awesome. With our combined firepower and some spells from our Mage of Heavens, we do break the Dark Elf Infantry that was trying to tie us up. These Dark Shards were kept busy by the Flamespire Phoenix, but we have brought it over here to try to deal with this clumped up Dark Elf Infantry. Because our Illyrian Lancers did take a fair amount of damage, but they're going to go in for another charge against more Bleak Swords. They do have Murderous Prowess active now, so they are going to get a big boost in melee attack and leadership along with vigor, so they're actually going to be able to fight against our Illyrian Lancers because their leadership is about to drop, or not their leadership, their melee defense because of March Prowess. It is active until we lose up to 25% of our hit points remaining, but it's just barely in range, so with the Flamespire Phoenix coming over to help, it may be enough just to keep these guys active so they don't take quite enough damage to keep going. But we've pretty much broken the rest of the Dark Elf army. Silver Helm's coming around to get on top of the Supreme Sorceress. It's just this unit of Dread Spears that are holding out, but we do throw it on Ironon's Thunderbolt right on those Bleak Swords and decimates them. Illyrian Lancers don't want to fight the Dread Spears, so we're going to leave them alone for now, but Flamespire Phoenix will do alright, despite being a large target. Because the rest of the Dark Elf army is just kind of tattered. Tyrion leading the attack along with the Mage, trying to get through onto these backline. This unit of Bleak Swords did hold out just a little bit longer, but that's going to be all she wrote for the Dark Elves. They do give up. Not too shabby. We did take a little more damage on our layer lancers than I would have liked. We got shot a little bit, but... Okay, rank 6. Nice. Let's occupy the Shrine of Asuryan. That gives us complete control over our starting province. And Tribute to the Phoenix King actually gives us grandeur per turn, but I want to get this built up a little bit faster, so let's go for the extra growth. Because I want to get Ulthuan to tier 3 so we can upgrade the port. Having one militia camp will be nice. This is a good spot for it as well. And then this... I'm actually going to trade this and we'll get some more public order buildings.
Queen of...
We can do our first Invocation of Asuryan. Let's do that too. We'll do it next turn, so we get the construction costs right away, and I don't have to waste one turn of that. But now the decision is, where do we go? Normally when I play Tyrion, I actually like to bypass Safari and go up to, I think it's the Phoenix Gate? Maybe it's the Dragon Gate. But it is because Tyrion gets one of his unique items when he has control of that. I think he has to hit like level 17 or something. I don't quite remember. Ooh, Caldor got destroyed already? Wow, that was really fast. Dreadfleet. Okay, that's something we have to worry about. Yeah, Tyrion. Let's see if it actually pops up in here. Yeah, so the Heart of Avalorn, you get a quest for it at rank 17, and it is usually to occupy this fortress gate right there. And Lariel usually takes that before you can get there if you wait, but usually if you sail, you can get there right away. But I think Safri would actually be more important, because White Tower is a really good landmark. And I want to start to use some of its units. Let's actually go to war against Safri.
State your business.
Because they still, unless the mod changed anything, I think this is still corrupted by Slanesh. Yeah. So let's go to war with Safri.
Welcome to our paradise, honored guest.
We'll worry about Tyrion's Heart of Avalorn later. Keep going for more buffs for our Spearmen and Ulthuan Sea Guard in melee.
Bring me battle.
Let's bring over our Sea Helm as well.
You have my attention.
You can't quite make it in this stance. That's okay, because there's no,
For my queen.
Oh, you can. Okay, so there's no Spellcaster in this army. Well, let's start going after Scouting, too, because magic items are really nice. Which, speaking of, we got, I think, Glittering Scales. That's a really good one. Let's replace that on Tyrion, since he is in melee. And on our mage, let's do the Bane Shield for weapons. Oh, we forgot to recruit our noble for the second time. Man, that's annoying.
Attack. Seal.
Vortex Shard gives you nice ability. Okay, let's do that before I forget now. -5 melee defense, we don't want that. Reduced ammunition is not great, but it's better than
Son of Ulthuan.
losing melee defense on a character. Start building that public order building. Oh, before we do that, let's get the Shrine of Asuryan. And something that can happen, so you see how this has made trigger a court dilemma? So this happens because of the Phoenix Court. So it usually gets you, yeah, I'm going to say a intrigue option with some other factions. Usually it's between high factions, but for this we can. We have a short temper, so smooth things over with the dwarves. We could take unhappy populace, but then we get a little bit of influence. We can insult the Empire, and call friends will start disliking the dwarves. Or we can insult Safari, and they will more likely to usurp seats from us. It also gives us negative relations with Teclis, though, which is not great. What about insulted dwarves? Diplomatic relations with dwarves. And Thorgrim really hates us, but we get grandeur, we're doing that. That's totally thematic for the High Elves. And let's get our first convoy going as well, since we did reach turn 5. Okay, you can get some units actually associated with the Empire. Okay. So you get halberdiers. That's because they are tied to part of the Empire. Because that's the High Elves actually used to control most of the Empire before the War of the Beard. Or this one can give you some bonuses and recruitment for units for ogre units. I actually like this because it has handgunners, and halberdiers are pretty good, so we'll do that one. We want to give him as much cargo as possible. Let's send him out to like the farthest spot away to start making money. That way we can start trading with Cathay too. And for the convoys, whenever you send a convoy out, you can actually use influence to increase the amount of cargo they have. We don't have any influence at the moment, so we're not going to worry about that. Let's build this now that we've done the invocation of Assyrian. And we may have enough for another seat. Okay, we could do this one. This gives recruit rank for cavalry, and stables and pastures grant additional movement speed in nearby regions. Or we could save for something up here, which we're pretty close to, so I might wait for that.
Speak your mind. Lord of the Phoenix.
But let's upgrade this Seaham first. Let's give him Ground Marcher.
Stopping for the moment.
And we shouldn't need to fight that one. Although our spearmen do take more damage than I would have liked. So let's loot and occupy this to get the extra heal. Ooh, Armor of Destiny, that's really good. Let's stick that on Tyrion. We'll stick the glittering scales on this new noble. Well, that's a great spot to end our first episode, guys, for the High Elves. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll pick this up in episode 2. I'm very, very excited to play this. High Elves are my favorite faction. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Have a great day.